My name is Curtis, and until just a few days ago, I believed I had a solid, happy marriage. I wasn't foolish. I knew no marriage is perfect, but I truly thought ours was strong, trustworthy, built on a foundation that could withstand anything. I had no idea how deeply I was mistaken. It began on an ordinary evening. Nothing felt off. No warning signs. No gut instinct screaming at me to pay attention. My wife, Lorna, had seemed a bit distant lately, but I chalked it up to stress. Work had been overwhelming for both of us, and I assumed we just needed quality time together. In fact, I'd even planned a weekend getaway, hoping a change of scenery might rekindle what I thought was just fading. But I never got the chance to mention it. That night, I came home later than usual, held up at the office finishing a project. When I pulled into the driveway, something caught my eye. An unfamiliar car parked outside. Not a neighbor's, not someone I recognized. A cold knot formed in my stomach, but I pushed it aside. Maybe she had a friend over. Maybe it was nothing. I had no reason to suspect her. Or so I told myself. I stepped inside, and the atmosphere hit me like a wall. The house was silent, yet thick with tension. An invisible energy that prickled my skin. And then I heard it. Laughter. Hers. But not just hers. A man's voice too, deep, familiar. I followed the sound, each step making my heart pound harder. When I turned the corner into the living room, I froze. There she was, Lorna, sitting on the couch, leaning in close to a man I knew all too well, Nolan. He worked with her. We weren't close, but I'd met him at office parties, holiday gatherings. Always assumed he was just a coworker. But the way they looked at each other, the intimacy in her touch, the way she laughed at something he said, told me everything. My first reaction wasn't anger. Not sadness, it was numbness, like my mind refused to accept what my eyes were seeing. I stood there, watching my wife light up for another man, her body language radiating closeness I hadn't seen in years. It was undeniable. I didn't shout, I didn't confront them. Instead, I did something I never thought I'd do. I took off my wedding ring. Lorna finally noticed me. Her eyes widened, shock flashing across her face as she quickly straightened up. "Curtis!" she started, but I didn't let her finish. I walked forward, calm, too calm, and placed the ring gently on the coffee table between them. "You dropped this somewhere along the way," I said, my voice steady. Nolan stiffened. He knew. He knew I'd caught them. But Lorna, she hesitated. Her mouth opened and closed, searching for words that wouldn't come. "Curtis, wait." I was already turning away. My hands didn't shake. My voice didn't crack. I felt nothing. Or maybe I felt everything at once and my body had shut down to protect itself. I walked to the door, but before stepping out, I looked back one last time. You might want to figure out how to explain this, because whatever you thought this was, it's over. And then I left. I didn't go home that night. Not because I had nowhere to go, but because home didn't feel like home anymore. The house where I'd spent 10 years building a life with Lorna now felt tainted, like it belonged to someone else. So I drove aimlessly, city lights blurring past as my mind replayed the scene over and over. The way she leaned into him, the way they laughed, the way Nolan didn't even flinch. The strangest part, I wasn't angry. Maybe it was shock. Maybe my brain hadn't caught up. Instead of rage, I felt an eerie calm, like I was watching my life unravel from a distance. Eventually, I pulled into a late-night diner. Old school, flickering neon sign,
a waitress who looked like she'd been there since the 80s. I sat in a booth by the window, ordered coffee, and stared into the night. That's when my phone buzzed. Lorna. I didn't answer. Another buzz. Then a text. Curtis, please come back. We need to talk. I let out a bitter laugh. Now she wanted to talk? Where was this urgency when she was giggling with Nolan like a teenager? I set the phone face down and took a slow sip of coffee. It should have warmed me. It didn't. Minutes passed, maybe an hour, then another text. Curtis, please, he's gone. Just come home. My stomach dropped. He's gone. Did she kick him out? Did he leave on his own? And why did it sound like she was alone? A twisted part of me wanted to make her suffer, to let her sit in silence with her guilt. But curiosity won. I paid the bill, got back in the car, and drove. Not because I forgave her, not because I was ready to talk, but because something about that message didn't sit right. When I pulled into the driveway, the strange car was gone. The house was dark except for a single light in the living room. I could see her silhouette pacing behind the window. I stepped inside. The moment she saw me, her body sagged with relief. Curtis, she breathed like she'd been holding her breath for hours. I said nothing, just closed the door and folded my arms, waiting. She hesitated. He left as soon as you walked out. I nodded. Good for him. Lorna flinched at my tone. I didn't mean for you to find out like this. I let out a humorless laugh. So, how did you mean for me to find out? She crumpled. No, I never wanted you to find out. At all. Wrong answer. I clenched my jaw, feeling the first flicker of anger. That's supposed to make me feel better? She shook her head, tears welling. No, Curtis, God, I screwed up, okay? I made a mistake. I tilted my head. A mistake? How long? Silence. Then barely a whisper. A few months. I exhaled through my nose, staring past her. Months. While I was planning weekend getaways, she had been betraying me for months. She reached for me. I stepped back. Don't. Curtis, please, she whispered. I didn't love him. That made me pause. Not because I cared, but because of what she didn't say. She never said she loved me. I let that hang between us, thick, suffocating. You know, I said, after a moment, I came back tonight thinking maybe, just maybe, I'd hear something that made sense. Something that explained why you threw everything away. She stepped forward. Curtis, I stepped back. No, you don't get to reach for me now. Not after this.
Her hands fell to her sides. I ran a hand through my hair. So what now? What's the plan? You said Nolan left. Did he leave for good? Or just until you could fix this mess? Lorna flinched. I told him to leave. Why? She hesitated. I gave a humorless chuckle. Because you got caught? Or because you actually want to fix this? She didn't answer. That told me everything. I turned for the door. Curtis, please, she said quickly. Don't do this. I stopped, hand on the knob. Do what, Lorna? Just don't leave? Stay? Let's talk? Let's figure this out? I turned to face her. For the first time, I let her see it. The exhaustion, the disappointment, the weight of her betrayal. Figure what out? I asked, voice barely above a whisper. How to pretend this didn't happen? How to go back? She swallowed hard. I shook my head. You don't get it, do you? Her lip trembled. Curtis, You broke us. Tears spilled down her cheeks. No, I said, stepping closer, voice steady. You don't know. You don't know what it feels like to look at someone and realize they were never who you thought they were, to know every moment you trusted them was a joke to them. She sobbed into her hands, but I didn't comfort her. Not this time. You made your choice, and now I'm making mine. Then, without another word, I opened the door and stepped into the cold night. And for the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe. But what happened next, that was the part I never saw coming. I didn't go far that night. I drove around, hands gripping the wheels so tight my knuckles turned white. My mind was a storm, memories of our life clashing with the brutal truth. Eventually, I found myself parked outside a cheap motel, the neon vacancy sign buzzing in the quiet night. I checked in on autopilot, barely registering the clerk. I just needed a place that wasn't haunted by the ghost of my marriage. Lying on the stiff mattress, staring at the ceiling, I waited for the anger, the raw, screaming fury. But it never came. Instead, I felt empty. I must have dozed off. I woke to my phone buzzing. Squinting at the screen, I saw her name. Lorna. I ignored it. Another text. Curtis, please, just tell me where you are. Then, I don't want to lose you. I laughed bitterly. Too late for that, sweetheart. More messages poured in. I tossed the phone aside. What now? Divorce, obviously, but how do you untangle 10 years in one night? The house, the accounts, the shared friends, it all felt like a minefield. I was lost in thought when a knock at the door nearly made me jump. No one knew I was here. I froze, pulse pounding. I looked through the peephole. Lorna! How the hell had she found me? I opened the door just enough. She looked wrecked, eyes red, face pale. Curtis, she breathed. Thank God. I held up a hand. How did you find me? She bit her lip. Your location is still linked to my phone from when we shared accounts. I had to talk to you. I exhaled. There's nothing to talk about. Please, her voice cracked. Just hear me out. Part of me wanted to slam the door, but against my better judgment, I stepped aside. She walked in, arms wrapped around herself. I know I hurt you. I know I can't take it back, but I swear I was going to end things with him. I was just scared. I scoffed. Scared of what? That he wouldn't want you after I left? No, she said, face twisting. Scared of losing us. I shook my head. You lost us the second you decided I wasn't enough. Tears streamed down her cheeks. I hate myself for this. I wish I could undo everything. I studied her, searching for truth. But then she made a mistake. She sniffled, wiped her eyes, and whispered, I already told Nolan it was over. I stilled. You told him? So it wasn't over before I caught you? Her breath hitched. I mean, I was going to end it. I laughed bitterly. Wow. Just wow. Curtis, please, she begged. I don't want to lose you. I looked at her. Really looked at her. And in that moment, I realized she wasn't here because she loved me.
She was here because she was losing control, and she hated that more than anything. I took a deep breath, reached into my pocket, felt the cold metal. Without a word, I pulled out my wedding ring, held it up between us, and placed it on the nightstand. Lorna's face crumpled. "Curtis!" I met her eyes, voice steady. "You don't have to lose me." I stepped back toward the door, opening it. "Because I was never yours to begin with." She let out a choked sob, but I didn't wait. I walked out, leaving my past behind. I thought that was the end, but I had no idea what was coming. Lorna wasn't done. The next few days were a blur. I went to work, tried to act normal, but the weight of betrayal clung to me. She kept calling, texting. I ignored her. Then came the emails. At first desperate. "Please talk to me. I love you. It was a mistake." But then they changed. One morning I opened my inbox to a single sentence. "You need to tell me the truth about Nolan." My stomach twisted. I knew better than to respond. But curiosity got the better of me. I typed, "I don't care. Don't contact me again." Less than 5 minutes later, my phone rang. I almost didn't answer. But I did. Lorna's voice was small, shaky. "Curtis, please, just hear me out." I sighed. "You've got 2 minutes." A pause. Then, "I wasn't the only one." I frowned. "What?" She took a deep breath. "Nolan, he's been doing this for years. With other women. Women he works with. I wasn't special. I was just another name on his list." I ran a hand down my face. "You think that changes anything?" "No," she hesitated. "But you should know. One of those women was married to your boss."
My blood ran cold. "What did you just say?" She sniffled. "Her name's Melissa. She's been married to Greg for 10 years, and he's been sleeping with her for months, just like he was with me." The air left my lungs. Greg wasn't just my boss. He was one of my closest friends, the man who gave me my first break, who told me I was like family, and his wife had been with the same man who destroyed my marriage. "You're lying," I said. Lorna let out a bitter laugh. "I wish I was. But if you don't believe me, ask Greg yourself." I ended the call. For the first time, I wasn't just drowning in my own betrayal. I was about to drag someone else into the storm. I had 2 choices: walk away or do what no one did for me. My hands were steady as I dialed Greg's number. It rang once, twice. Then, "Curtis, my man, what's up?" I hesitated. "We need to talk. Now." The shift was instant. "What's wrong?" "Not over the phone. Meet me at Ray's Diner, 20 minutes. The diner was nearly empty when I arrived. I sat in a back booth, hands clasped, rehearsing the words. How do you tell a man his wife is cheating? How do you say the man who smiles at him every day has been sleeping with her? Greg walked in 10 minutes later, confused. He slid into the booth, phone on the table. "All right, you've got me worried. What's going on?" I took a slow breath. "It's about Melissa." His brow furrowed. "What about her?" I met his gaze. "She's having an affair." Greg went still. The silence stretched, then a dry chuckle. "Is this a joke?" I shook my head. His face hardened. "What the hell are you talking about?" I leaned forward.
It's about Nolan. That name alone cracked Greg's expression. I saw the darkness in his eyes, the twitch in his jaw. "You're lying," he said, voice flat. I pulled out my phone, showed him Lorna's message. "Read it." Greg stared at the screen. I watched the moment it hit him, the tightening grip, the flare of his nostrils. Without a word, he stood. "Greg," he was already moving. I threw cash on the table and followed him outside. "Where are you going?" I grabbed his arm. "You don't want to do anything stupid." His eyes burned. "Don't tell me what I want to do, Curtis." I exhaled. "Trust me, I know exactly how this feels. But you need to think." His fists clenched. "So I just let her get away with it?" "No," I said. "But you don't go in blind." His jaw tightened. "Then what do you suggest?" I didn't have an answer. Not yet. But I knew one thing. This wasn't over. Greg paced, fists clenching, breath sharp. I saw it. The same fire I'd felt. Betrayal doesn't just hurt. It rewires you, makes you question everything. "We need proof," I said finally. Greg stopped. "Proof? What more do I need than this?" He waved my phone. "Your wife admitted it." I shook my head. "It's not enough. If you go in with just a text and my word, she'll deny it, twist it, make you the bad guy." He didn't want to hear it, but he knew I was right. After a long pause, he exhaled. "So what do we do?" I hesitated. Then, before I could second-guess myself, I pulled up a number and hit dial. It rang twice. Lorna answered, hesitant. "Didn't expect to hear from you again so soon." "I need you to do something," I said flatly. A pause. "What?" I took a breath. "Meet me right now. At your place. Bring your phone. You're going to call Nolan." We waited in the car, parked across the street. Lights on, Lorna pacing. Greg tapped the wheel. "You sure she'll do it?" I nodded. She's desperate to fix this. A few minutes later, my phone buzzed. "He's picking up. Listen in." I put her on speaker. The call clicked on. "Lorna, you need to tell me the truth, Nolan. How many women have there been?" Silence. Then, "Does it matter?" Greg tensed beside me. "Yes, it matters." Another pause. Then, casually, "You really want the list, sweetheart? Because trust me, you weren't special." Greg grabbed the dashboard so hard I thought it would break. Lorna's voice cracked. "I trusted you." Nolan chuckled. "That's on you, isn't it?" I heard her breath hitch. "And what about Curtis? What about Greg?" Nolan's low laugh filled the car. "Curtis? Come on. You think I was worried about him? He was never going to find out. And Greg? Melissa's had her fun. I don't see why she should stop now." That was it. Greg threw open the door and stormed toward the house. I followed him. Lorna swung the door open. "Greg, wait!" He brushed past her. Melissa stood frozen in the kitchen, phone in hand, face pale. Greg cut him off. "Don't. Just don't." She opened her mouth. No words came. He knew. Without a word, Greg took off his wedding ring, placed it on the counter, and walked out. I followed him onto the porch. Greg let out a slow breath. "I'm done." I nodded. "I'm done." We stood in silence, two men who just lost everything. And yet, for the first time in a long time, I felt free. Greg turned to me. "So what now?" I gave a small, tired smile. "It's now we move forward." He scoffed. Forward sounds easy when you say it. I shrugged. It's not, but it's better than staying stuck in this mess. For the first time in days, something shifted inside me. The pain was still there, but so was relief. The next few weeks were a blur. Paperwork, tough conversations, untangling my life from Lorna's. She begged, called, texted. I was done. I found a small apartment across town. Nothing fancy, but it was mine. No ghosts, no lies, just a fresh start. Greg and I stayed in touch. Going through something like this bonds you in a way nothing else can. We met for drinks, swapped horror stories, even laughed at the sheer insanity of it all. One night, Greg nudged me. "So when are you getting back out there?" I raised an eyebrow. "Back where?" He smirked. "Dating. You know, what people do when they're not married to cheaters." I chuckled. "Not anytime soon." "Come on," he said. "Not all women are like them." I exhaled. "I know. I just need time." And for the first time, I meant it. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't closed off. I wasn't letting this define me. I just needed space to be me again. And I was okay with that. A year later, my life looked completely different. New job, new apartment, new peace of mind. I ran into Greg at a coffee shop. He was smiling, actually smiling, as he sat across from a woman I'd never seen before. I raised an eyebrow. He just grinned and mouthed, "Later." And you know what? I was happy for him. Because the truth is, betrayal doesn't have to break you. It can shape you, make you stronger. And in the end, sometimes losing everything is exactly what you need to finally find yourself. If you enjoyed this story, please give it a like and subscribe for more heartfelt and powerful stories.